The lymphatic and immune systems are so intertwined in terms of their function that people often consider them to be one. Now, we saw a little bit of the lymphatic system when we were studying capillary filtration and reabsorption. And you may recall the diagram that I showed of an arteriole leading to a capillary leading to a venule. And we talked about how fluid filters out and then gets reabsorbed into the capillary. But some of that fluid is carried away by these lymphatic vessels, which are found in every capillary bed. The lymphatic vessels carry that fluid through multiple lymph nodes, one of which I've drawn here, and then that fluid returns back to the circulatory system at the subclavian vein. This function is called fluid recovery. So the fluid that's leaking out of the vessels here is recovered by the lymphatic vessels and returned back to the circulatory system. When this is interrupted, as is the case when the parasite that causes elephantiasis gets lodged in the lymph nodes, this prevents the fluid from leaving the capillary beds and it accumulates and becomes edema. Also, sometimes when people have cancer, they remove lymph nodes in the area around the cancer, and that results in edema because it essentially cuts this vessel. And now the fluid that would have been collected can't make it back to the subclavian vein. That's called lymphedema. Now, the way this relates to the immune system has to do with the other functions. So we have fluid recovery, but we have recognition and removal of abnormal cells, protection against pathogens, and cleanup. Now, cleanup is sort of easy to visualize because this is pulling away any debris that the cells are releasing into the interstitial fluid. But protection against pathogens is also part of this design. If there are pathogens, if there's an infection in the tissue where this capillary bed is, then some of the antigens from the pathogen, the infection, will be siphoned up through the lymphatic vessels. And as they pass through the lymph node is full of lymphocytes. And these lymphocytes, it's sort of like running the gauntlet. Any kind of pathogen that runs through here is going to get recognized and attacked by the cells that reside in the lymph node. So this is sort of a screening, a surveillance, a way to do surveillance of the body. Because there are lymph vessels everywhere throughout the body, we're always taking samples of that fluid to make sure that there's nothing harmful in the fluid. We'll talk more about these other functions, the recognition and removal of abnormal cells, protection against pathogens, and even cleanup as we move forward through the immune system. But this is where the lymphatic system, the lymphatic vessels and the lymph nodes overlap with the immune system, and combined they have these functions.